Halo 3 is a game that will always have a place in my heart. Not because of the multiplayer experience or the fun I had with friends like so many other YouTubers will spend hours talking about. I was a little late to all of that. It's because from my experience, Halo 3 is probably the most solid of the mainline Halo games, which is already a pretty high bar to reach over Halo Combat Evolved. Halo 3 does an incredible job of taking the groundwork from the previous two games and building on top of it. From the story to the atmosphere, from the gunplay to the music, Halo 3 might not have put this franchise on the map, but it was the game that fortified its position in history. Bungie did an outstanding job with almost everything in this game. The music is incredible, the level design is well thought out and adds quite a bit to the combat outside of one or two exceptions, and the music does a great job of emphasizing the moments both in and out of gameplay. Though, yet again, you wouldn't think that if you heard the stories of how this game was developed. Because of how quickly the Halo games had released one after another, the staff were beginning to feel the tension. Shortly after development had started, the co-founder of Bungie took a break, leaving the team without any real direction for a while. And because of disagreements between the team, the lead story writer ended up taking a vacation, leaving the script to a committee inside of Bungie, which ended up being rewritten due to plot threads and characters being forgotten about entirely. The more I find out about the development of these games, the more thankful I am of just how good they turned out. So even when those sayings of stress-breeding creativity might not be true all the time, when it comes to the Halo franchise, it almost seemed like all of that pressure created diamonds. Now, compared to the other two titles, there's not as much added, and there wasn't anything particularly revolutionary about this title, or at least not in the campaign. The Xbox had launched 2 years earlier, meaning they had a pretty good understanding of the architecture. They had 2 games under their belt, so they had a pretty good idea of what the universe and story would be, but the most important of all is that this was going to be the end of Master Chief's story. Not only was this humanity's lowest point, but for all intents and purposes, the war was as good as lost. There was only one chance we had to survive. This is where I want to take a moment to talk about Halo's advertising, because it's a real punch to the gut. From beginning to end, Master Chief's death is spoken about, walking through a museum commemorating the battles, interviewing soldiers who fought alongside John, looking at the weapons and battlefields and memorials posted in magazines. This was in sharp contrast to the story set up by the other games, changing from desperate battles with a dim ray of hope to an entire race mourning the loss of its greatest hero. The game starts looking up at the stars from Earth as something enters orbit. Cortana talking about why she chose the Chief before you see something crash land. It's shown to be the Chief, his armor locked up as Sergeant Johnson and the group of Marines thinking he hasn't survived re-entry. As he wakes up, he sees the Arbiter and almost starts a confrontation right before Johnson calms them down. And then the game begins. This really sets the tone for the rest of the game, almost asking the player to look back on their adventure so far with fear, or the possibility of losing the main character just as quickly as we were introduced to him all the way back in Combat Evolved. The missions from this point on also introduces new ideas with this installment, like the equipment, which would later evolve into armor abilities, as well as moments in gameplay where you're able to save Marines and other NPCs that'll end up helping you during fights. We've also received some improvements from Halo 2, like the SMGs getting a massive buff, or having the Magnums return. Also completely opposite to the two other titles, the first 2 missions of Halo 3 are built around establishing the world and what's to come, as well as setting up the idea that even though things are dire, not all hope is lost. While there are some moments where control is basically taken away from you, I really don't mind it, since it shows how much the Chief relies on Cortana for guidance, which is now given to you by the Marines, which I actually find to be really interesting. This is the first game outside of the first mission in Halo CE that shows you that these Marines are important and really grounds you with the idea that you're not just fighting alongside AI, but people. People that have homes they want to protect, almost in the same way that Halo 2 humanized the Covenant and brings meaning to what they fight for. Halo 3 feels incredible to play, and while that can be said about any installment up to this point, I find that Halo 3 above all takes the best parts from Halo CE and 2 and really takes advantage of all the potential they had. From the level design being smooth and easy to understand, to the fights being dynamic and exhilarating. This feels like Halo at its peak, though there are a few levels that tend to let it down. Both Crow's Nest and Cortana stick out to me as being the outliers when it comes to level design, which is interesting considering those two are the levels I hear the most people talking about disliking. In the Crow's Nest, you're reintroduced to Amanda Keyes before the Covenant attack. Oh, quick side note by the way, I know that everyone talks about how stupid the 2 war moment is, but I really don't find it that ridiculous, considering she contacts the chief just a few moments later, making sure they're on a secure contact channel. It would make sense that she doesn't just want to radio their plans to everyone in the base, considering they were hacked just a few minutes ago. During the mission, you're told to move through the base to help evacuate different sections, securing the hangars for evacuation pelicans, returning to the ops center to clear out the brutes, and then moving to the bunkers to save any remaining marines. The first time you need to find your way around the base, the marines act as your guide, telling you to follow them or giving you directions, letting you get a grasp for the map before you need to do it on your own. While a lot of people pass this off as needless backtracking, I really don't think it's that simple. Not only is this a great reference to the Pillar of Autumn from Halo Combat Evolved, but it also does a great job at showing you your options before giving you the freedom to explore the complex as you like. Even though the layout of the Crow's Nest is simple, the combat areas are quite well put together, giving you plenty of verticality and places for both you and the enemies to use as cover, which we also see in the mission Cortana. This is something that we start seeing a lot throughout the rest of the game as well. These large open battle arenas that are exactly what was missing from Halo 2. And they did have moments like that, but they were few and far between. And honestly, I feel like needing to compensate for the limitations of the Xbox at the time were the main cause of this. Even in the E3 demo of Halo 2, we see examples of gameplay that would feel closer to Halo 3 than in the final product of Halo 2. It's these larger battlefields that I feel are the best parts of Halo 3. The driving section of Savo Highway and fighting the Scarab, or moving through the desert of the Ark and flying the Falcons in the Covenant, brings so much enjoyment, and really brings you back to the feeling of adventure that Halo Combat Evolved brought with the missions like Halo and the Silent Cartographer. It's not only that, but the change in environment has also returned. Gone are the same old Forerunner buildings mission after mission, allowing us to adventure through forests, underground bases, highways, deserts, and even the familiar locations on Installation 04 like Death Island, and the Winter Wonderland underground that we see during 2 Betrayals. And alongside all of this, you're treated to some of the most outstanding reimaginings of the Halo soundtrack that have ever been or will ever be created. Compared to Halo 2, this game returns with a much more percussive feel, letting the drums punch through the action on screen as we fight our way through the Covenant forces. Even the quieter and more reserved tracks have this march that pushes you forward through the game, which leads into these outstanding and serene pieces during cutscenes that bring so much emotion into these moments this story wants to hit. Most of the time, the music of Halo can sound somewhat like other generic military games, but I believe that it's this reuse of elements from the other games that really brings the nostalgic recognition to these tracks, trying to remind us of our adventures so far, what we're fighting for, and what we've lost. The ending of Halo 3 is something that'll always stick in my head. Not because it was a mess, not because it was perfect, but because it brings so much more than just an ending to a story. We're shown a memorial of all of the characters and Marines we fought alongside during our adventures. The humans and elites are left with an uneasy alliance. The Covenant is gone and the Chief is left adrift in space. Both John and Cortana left to their own devices in hopes that someone will find them soon. It's a conflicting end for sure. While it's not as definitive as losing the Chief in battle or having him return to Earth, it leaves their options open and leaves us with questions and an almost bittersweet feeling. Are they ever going to be found? What happens to humanity? Can the elites find their way without falling back into the same zealotry they found in the Covenant? In a way, I almost prefer this over some of the options they had. It's quite confronting, and it leaves you with feelings of both loss and hope. That same hope that the Chief has brought to every battle he's been in, every battle Spartans have been in, and the hope that helped the human race prevail in their fight against the Covenant. Before we finish off this video, I wanted to bring up possibly one of the most incredible parts of Halo that was introduced with this title. The Halo 3 Forge system was an incredible addition to the franchise, and while it might seem like a simple level editor, the options it gives you are incredibly extensive. Even the point of allowing you to create and adjust the rules of the game mode itself. For a first iteration of a system, it was very impressive, allowing the Halo community to get super creative. While I might not have been around to experience Forge in action online, I remember sinking quite a few hours into it, just trying to experiment with the maps and laying out things where I want them. It was a huge revelation to little Jaden trying to figure out how much work was needed to put into a map to make it feel as well designed as most Halo maps are. Over the last few months or so, I've been having plenty of disagreements and discussions about what makes a good Halo game, and, at least in my mind, this is probably one of the closest examples to a definitive Halo experience. Between the marketing and the way that this game flows from one moment to another, this really sets a standard for what was to come, in more ways than one as well. After Halo 3 was released, we started to see a trend in games that would be released afterwards in both quality and tone. And it's that tone that I think really makes the next title stand out when you put it in a lineup against the rest of the franchise.